Okay, so now I'll explain the tables, which will kind of explain the questions a lot better also. Table 1 is actually the spreadsheet model from case 12A that you developed. And I will post that separately just to make sure everybody has a good clean spreadsheet model and that all their links and formulas are done correctly. Because what you're going to do is take that spreadsheet model and change certain variables to a lot of different values to see what would happen to your NPV, to see if NPV is still positive or if it's now negative. And you'll do that a lot, so I'll make sure that you have the spreadsheet model all linked up, since we haven't had a real class to be able to make sure everybody has it set up correctly. Table 2, you're doing a sensitivity analysis, and basically a sensitivity analysis is where you change one variable at a time and see what effect that has on your NPV. So all the numbers that you'll have down here are going to be NPVs. I've already filled in some for you. So all of these, you'll have NPV numbers in all of these cells. So what you do is, like starting off with unit sales, you go in there, and the base case is from the table that I'll post, table 1, where you have $400,000 in unit sales. So all along this row right here, you'll have the NPV that is in the table 1 that I'll post. That is your base case. So you take that model and then you say, well, unit sales in the base case is 400,000. What if unit sales were 10% more than that? What if unit sales were 440,000? So you plug in 440,000 and see what would happen to your NPV. So then you plug the new NPV number in there, and then you see what would happen if NPV, or if unit sales were 20% higher, or 480,000. So you plug 480,000 in your spreadsheet and see what the new NPV is, and you put it in there. Then you do the same thing. You plug in 360,000 for your unit sales and see what your NPV would be if unit sales were 10% below what you thought, and then 20% below. And then you change the unit sales back to the base of 400,000, and then change unit price. Change it by minus 10% and minus 20% and plus 10% and plus 20%. And again, see what would happen to your NPV if you changed unit price by those percentages. So you do the same thing for all these different variables. Always go back to the base case, change the unit price back to the base case of, what was it, $2, and then change the salvage value, and then change salvage value back to the $50,000 and change the variable costs. So what you'll do is you need to fill in all of these cells with NPVs based on changing one variable at a time by these percentages. And then based on that, you'll kind of get an idea. You'll have some negative NPVs and some positive NPVs, and kind of get a feel for how far certain variables need to drop or how far they need to go up before NPV becomes negative, and kind of based on looking at this overall table, what's the risk of this project? Is there really that big of a chance that your NPV would go negative, or unit sales would have to go down quite a bit before it would actually become a negative NPV project? So you would feel pretty comfortable about unit sales. Your $400,000 estimate would have to be way off before you would actually have a negative NPV. So you feel pretty good about unit sales, and so you talk about that and do that for all the different variables they have listed here.